Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is literally shaking up the tech world right now, the incredibly disruptive launch of China's Kimi K3. We're going to unpack exactly how small and medium-sized enterprises can legally navigate this wild new AI frontier using the EU AI Act. Because, let's face it, AI is moving at absolute breakneck speed. And for businesses today, the line between an incredible productivity boost and a massive legal headache has honestly never been thinner. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll meet disruptor Kimi K3. Second, the global AI rivalry. Third, enter the EU AI Act. Fourth, navigating AI risk categories. And finally, what SMEs need to know. All right, let's jump straight into section 1. Meet disruptor Kimi K3, the new Chinese AI juggernaut. Okay, we've got to start with the sheer scale of the catalyst that's currently rocking the industry. Moonshot AI's new large language model, Kimi K3. This thing boasts an absolutely unprecedented 2.8 trillion parameters. To put its massive 1 million token context window into perspective, and you can think of that as the AI's short-term memory, it basically means Kimi K3 can ingest entire books, vast amounts of scientific literature, or even massive code repositories in just a single uninterrupted session. It's purpose-built for super complex, demanding tasks like logical reasoning and advanced software development. Oh, and it comes with native visual capabilities to understand complex charts and videos right out of the box. But what makes Kimi K3 a real game changer is that it's an open-weight model. In really sharp contrast to a lot of the closed systems we see in the West, Moonshot AI actually made the core model weights publicly available. This is huge. It gives companies, researchers, and even governments the unique option to just download the whole model and host it locally on their own private hardware, rather than being locked into an external cloud provider. However, as we all know, building a beast of a model on paper is one thing, actually scaling it is a whole different story. Because Kimi K3 offered this highly capable performance at much cheaper API rates than the traditional market leaders, the demand was just explosive. Literally explosive. Within 48 hours, they essentially broke their own servers. Moonshot AI's GPU capacity completely maxed out, and they actually had to pause new subscriptions just to keep the lights on for their existing users. It really highlights the insane global appetite and the huge infrastructural challenges of these frontier models. Moving on to Section 2, the global AI rivalry, a three-way geopolitical tech race. This unprecedented launch brings us to a massive geopolitical shift. Until very recently, the global AI landscape was pretty much entirely dominated by a few American titans, right? But now we're looking at a super complex three-way race. On one side, we have China's Kimi K3 using massive scale and that open-weight strategy to go head-to-head on benchmarks with US closed systems like OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Sol and Anthropic's Claude Fable 5. Meanwhile, Europe is carving out its own distinct path. We're seeing models like France's Mistral and Switzerland's Lumo offering localized alternatives that are heavily focused on strict data sovereignty and compliance with local laws. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3. Enter the EU AI Act, the legal pivot for businesses. All right, for all you SMEs out there, this is where you really need to zoom in and pay attention. You can't just blindly plug the absolute most powerful, cheapest tool into your workflow anymore. Enter the EU AI Act. This is the world's very first comprehensive AI regulation, and it is setting the global standard, honestly, very much like the GDPR did for data privacy. A huge target here is what they call General Purpose AI, or GPI. If you decide to deploy incredibly powerful, broad models exactly like Kimi K3, Chapter 5 of the Act means you are now legally on the hook for some seriously rigorous transparency and copyright obligations. Let's break that down in Section 4, Navigating AI Risk Categories, the 3 tiers of the AI Act. So you might be wondering, how does the EU actually classify the specific tools you want to use every day? Well, it doesn't treat all AI equally. Instead, it categorizes AI systems based on the level of risk they pose to citizens, using a brilliant color-coded system. You've got stark red for unacceptable risk. These applications are just completely banned, no questions asked. Then there's orange for high-risk systems. These are permitted, but they face very strict legal hurdles and mandatory oversight. And finally, in teal, we have applications that pose minimal or low risk, which are left largely unregulated so that innovation can keep flowing unimpeded. Let's look at what these categories actually mean in the real world. Under that red unacceptable risk category, things like government-run social scoring systems, outright banned, gone. But on the other hand, consider an orange, high-risk application. Say, an AI tool used by your HR department to scan CVs and rank a highly diverse pool of job applicants. That is perfectly legal, but it is strictly regulated to prevent bias and ensure total inclusivity. Basically, if you're a staffing business, your entire operating model is now subject to specific, enforceable legal requirements. And folks, these rules are moving incredibly fast. This is not some distant sci-fi future scenario. The European AI Office was already established in 2024 to oversee all of this. By August 2025, the Code of Practice for General-Purpose AI is getting finalized. And critically, by August 2026, key transparency rules under Article 50 will be strictly enforced for both the providers and the deployers of these systems.
All right, Section 5. What SMEs need to know. Actionable steps for your business.
So, what's the actual game plan here? What does a small or medium-sized enterprise need to do right now to harness the immense power of models like Kimi K3 or those localized European alternatives like Mistral and Lumo without getting hit by heavy fines? You need a solid strategy, and it boils down to 3 actionable steps. Step 1. Establish clear, super strict internal data policies, dictating exactly which tasks AI is allowed to handle and where your sensitive data is going. Step 2. Ensure a human-in-the-loop system. Your diverse team of employees absolutely must act as editors and supervisors of the AI's output. And step 3, utilize official resources, like the EU's AI Act compliance checker tool, to figure out your specific obligations in just a few minutes. I really want to emphasize that human element because it cannot be overstated. As marketing expert Jasper Boot points out, ignoring human oversight doesn't just put you at risk for severe legal compliance breaches. If you blindly trust an external model without maintaining your own human vision, you run the great risk of bogging down in uniformity. Without real human curation, your brand's unique voice simply turns into generic robotic mush. And trust me, your customers will see right through that. Which leaves us with this provocative final thought as you build out your organization's tech strategy for the future. You're basically standing at a crossroads. Will you opt for the immense scale, power, and dirt-cheap cost of foreign models like Kimi K3, or will you choose to sacrifice a little bit of raw performance in favor of the strict compliance and absolute data sovereignty offered by European alternatives? The AI frontier is wide open, but navigating it safely? Well, that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and we will catch you next time.